So good morning, everyone. We are going to move a little quickly. Our goal today is to just give you the scope of the work that we have embarked on over this last year. So I'm going to give you just a little bit of the intro of how we got to where we are, because we do want to give you the best part, which is really to hear from the teachers and what's going on in our classrooms right now. So when we thought about Project Lead the Way, or actually a STEM-based curriculum, we started with our Irvington's theory of action. So we have a theory about what we believe that if we do certain things in our school district, we will get the results. And so what you can see here is if we provide students rigorous, authentic learning experiences, and I'll stop there because that was really at the heart of our goal. We wanted to make sure that what we were going to do, the next steps that we took, were going to ensure that that was at the heart of the work. And if you look at our goals and the last two bullets, the 21st century skills and dispositions, and I know sometimes we're so tired of hearing that 21st century skills, so maybe somebody will come up with a new name, but until then, it's all we got. So, but really, if you read what follows, problem solver, flexible thinker, collaborative, those are the things that most of us really do believe in right now. And Project Lead the Way is framed completely around those attributes, those dispositions. And so we started by creating our vision, and we had this benefit of developing a new technology plan as we were simultaneously developing our theories of action and our plans for moving forward. So they really coincided nicely. Our technology goals, while they don't all link to Project Lead the Way, actually probably most of them do. At the heart of it, though, right now is certainly our technology goal 6, innovation, curriculum integration, and you'll hear a little bit about the professional development that's required to make this really happen. This year was our first year for Project Lead the Way. We started with what's called Launch, which is the elementary program, and we decided to implement that in 3rd and 4th grade. In Irvington, we have one school that's Dow's Lane is K through 3, and the Main Street School is grades 4 and 5. So we decided that grades 3 and 4 were really a good place to start right in the middle, with our goal being to move down and up in subsequent years. We wanted to ensure that all of our schools had some STEM-based curriculum being implemented this year. At the middle school, as most of you know, we're required to have a technology program. So Diana has been teaching technology and Marcus had been teaching technology, but we shifted to the Project Lead the Way curriculum. And for this year, we started in grade 7, which with design and modeling, and we'll move into robotics for next. At the high school level, we had signed on to Project Lead the Way, I want to say 6 years ago. But we never followed the full sequence. So our commitment this year was to really expand and make sure that we were following the sequence which was required. I will admit they were actually going to come after us. They were like, they seemed to get their paperwork in order. And they were coming to say, you're not doing the sequence. We were like, we know. So we were right on the same page with them. So for this year, design and drawing for production and engineering, and civil engineering and architecture. Just a quick window into what happened. We knew about Project Lead the Way because of our high school program. We were committed to expanding to a more full-based STEM program. We went, many of us, a large group of us, maybe 11 or 12 of us, went to Saratoga. We went to this conference and we came back and we were sold. We were just sold. It was so well designed, so thoughtful, really deep work that really met all of our goals that we had laid out for ourselves in our theory and goals. We developed a plan for implementation, we developed a budget, and we started by writing grants. We were happy we received 2 grants. The Bemis Corporation was a corporate grant that we got through PLTW for $20,000. It was for the middle school, and it was $10,000 for the initial year, and $10,000 for next year, which will allow us to implement robotics. PLTW sent me the list of grants that are available, some appropriate for Irvington and some not. Our PTSA is tremendously supportive of this work, and they gave us a $50,000 grant to implement this work. While the grants and the budget are important, without the Project Lead the Way training for our teachers, we would be nowhere. And it was intense, varying from 3 days to a week to 2 weeks. and then ongoing. It doesn't just, you don't just go and then come back and say, okay, ready to go. It is definitely ongoing work, but their professional development is of high level, and it's targeted, it's clear, and they understand what teachers need in order to get going. But it is truly through the initiative of our teachers that we have been as successful as we are this year. Just so that, to give you the broader scope of Project Lead the Way, these are the other areas that are available at the high school level: biomedical science sequence, computer science sequence. At the middle school, they offer these specialization units, and even though we launched in grades 3 and 4, they do have 4 units per grade, 2 engineering, 1 computer science, and 1 biomed. We're hoping to expand into these, but that's right now not where we are.
Anyone who knows me knows I have a tendency to run on. This is the least you'll ever hear me speak. I'm going to be as brief as possible to give my teachers as much time as possible for them to share their work. I'm only going to touch on 2 points. The first is, one of my roles was to support the work of our teachers this year, and in addition to just supporting the ordering, which is a process unto itself, I really felt it was important to get the community on board with getting them to understand the types of work that our teachers were doing and giving them some insight into seeing what goes on every day in a Project Lead the Way classroom. So in addition to having many people come to our schools to come visit our schools and see the work that was being done in the classroom, we also created an Instagram feed, Bulldog Bites, B-Y-T-S, who did that? to get them to get our teachers to share pictures and post on a regular basis to allow parents to kind of engage in the work that was going on in our classrooms. So our teachers were constantly sending us images which we were able to share, and it's been a great way to kind of extend the dialogue past what we would normally get to the opportunity to do in the classroom. In addition, last night we actually had the opportunity to host the Project Lead the Way Parent Night for the community, and we had community members come. We had all of our teachers there with much bigger than this space, with areas set up for each of the individual programs, where we were able to really share and have students share in some of the work they were doing. And the last piece, before I hand it off to teachers, one question I'm often asked, particularly after people come to visit our school, is why PLTW? Ultimately, why choose this over another program? And it brings me back to that first visit we made to Saratoga. And 5 of us had the opportunity to be in a session where Saratoga had actually brought back students who had gone through the full PLTW sequence at the high school, had graduated college, were now working in the field, and they came back and were telling us that PLTW in particular prepared them, regardless of whether or not they were going into an engineering career or a computer science career, so well prepared them just for the rigors of college and of the workplace that they felt that they were on such a higher plane than their peers were. And between that and the fact that when we look at our PLTW teachers and see the work being done in their classes and listen to the level of discourse that our students are able to have and that type of dialogue, we know that that's exactly what we wanted for our students. And with that, I'm going to pass it off to Gwen.
Great, and hello everybody. In the very beginning, the keynote speaker had mentioned something about let's launch it early. And that kind of hit home for me because this year is our first year of Project Lead the Way in the elementary level. And last night we had the Project Lead the Way Parent Night, and before I arrived to set up all our stuff, I had taught a class where there was 2 third-grade school students talking to one another during one of our projects. And they actually said, oh my God, our relationship has changed so much since Project Lead the Way. So I ran over and I said, could you say that again? And I wrote it down and I brought it to the parents last night. And that just speaks to what Jesse was saying in regards to what do we want our kids to do? We want our kids to collaborate. We want them to think higher level, along with whatever genre we're going with. And this is Project Lead the Way, which allows that forum to happen. So students work with partners. They work in groups, sometimes pairs, sometimes in triplicate, and they basically generate and compare multiple solutions to complete a task. What do they have to do? They discuss, explore solutions, and they use science, mathematics, concepts, and make models and observations. Here are a few examples of the VEX kit that we utilize during a lot of our units in all grades. And these are some examples of student-built science experiments. Some are simple machines, some are compound machines in regards to building and engineering. What tools do the students use? There's a copy of the launch log over there on the expansive whiteboard tray. And we have an example of some student entries. So not only are we building not only are we collaborating, but the students are also reflecting through art and also through ELA. They are writing in complete sentences, and they're starting off with echoing questions and thinking about higher level responses in these launch logs. Because as you all know, engineers write everything down. What kind of technology are we using? This is iPad based for us. And as Dr. Kor talked about, we did receive grants, so thank goodness we have an iPad for every 2 students. They do research on the iPads, they do digital photography applications, and of course they follow along this application that allows them to follow visually a construct for the VEX kids. So what apps do we use? We use Canvas, which is an online web-based program that actually gives the kids the curriculum. So they can go back to the curriculum and find out what the procedure is for any activity on their own. So the program actually fosters a lot of independence within each group. Poplet is basically a graphics organizer. Arrow, which you see here, is actually an application to teach students about flight. They learn about drag, they learn about gravity, they learn about force. A parent told me last night they went on vacation last week, and their kids sat the whole time on the airplane explaining about what goes on during the takeoff and landing. So I'm glad that we can integrate into family life. So we also use this program called Monster Physics. It's all about putting parts together and making things move, and the Safari browser, of course. The design process is something that all engineers use, whether you're a chemical engineer, a civil engineer, a software engineer, and the students are ensconced into the design process right from the beginning. They have to figure out what's the problem, how are we going to find a solution, what research do we have to do, what ideas do you have, what prior knowledge do we have. They tie all that in through the activities that we integrate with the whole curriculum, and then they move on to making models, whether it be the VEX kits or other models using other materials. They test the models, they evaluate it, figure it out. Is it okay? Is there something wrong with it? Do we need to go back and retest? So the content, this is just a very light little blurb about 3rd grade. So we work on stability and motion, science of flight. This is an engineering concept module. They work on forces, motions, aeronautics, and building experimental aircraft. So in the beginning, the kids actually make aircraft with sets of cardboard, and then they reach past that and build their own aircraft. Stability and motion, forces, and interactions. This is another engineering module where they uncover and research and build simple and compound machines. Programming patterns. This is very interesting. This is coming up, and we are going to be doing computer-free activities to teach the kids how to use logistics and analytics and direction in cooperation with physical movement. And it's a non-digital module to help the kids understand what code is. In 4th grade, we have worked on energy and collision. So in the video, or the slideshow that we presented you earlier, there was a picture of this big, huge ramp, and at the bottom of it were 2 cars that crashed. So the kids create these vehicles, and they collide them into walls, and later on, through the use of the activities, they have to create a safe haven for an egg that will go through the same collision inside a car. So we went through many test car compilations online and looked at different scenarios, and they ended up building their own car to protect an egg. The energy conversions is the energy movement. We talk about exploring the 6 energy types, and they built a compound machine to move heavy loads using a VEX, and then that's an example of a bicycle right there. And then our next unit, which we're just going to do a little tad of, is the human brain. We're going to be uncovering research about concussions. And that's going to be quite interesting. And they're going to do a digital presentation as their product as opposed to a VEX presentation. These are some students that did a speaking part in our visit that we had last month with some instructional leaders to Irvington, and they did a fabulous job, and they were more than happy to help us out.
So I know every middle school does technology different. Our middle school does every other day for a semester, so I see the kids equivalent of a quarter. The way that so Project Lead the Way has the Gateway program, and that's the middle school program. So the way the middle school program is designed is there's 2 foundational, they call them units, but they're really courses, and each one is designed to be about 10 weeks. So the first is design and modeling, and the second is automation and robotics. So design and modeling is the one that we implemented this year. With our 7th graders next year, those 7th graders will be in 8th grade, they'll take automation and robotics. Our new 7th graders will take design and modeling. Earlier, Raina showed the list of all of the other possible gateway courses. So we can choose to add those specialization courses, and we're kind of thinking about how we could potentially implement them in the future, but we're kind of just doing one step at a time at this point. So for me, I had 4 groups of 7th graders in the fall semester, 2 periods every other day. We have A days and B days. Now I have 2 groups of 7th graders. One of the things that I didn't learn until too late is that Project Lead the Way gives us so much fabulous stuff that we can't do it all. So I started off the year and I was like, oh, this seems like a great project. And I got into it, and then I realized how time consuming it was, and it didn't let me get to other things that I wanted to get to. So the great thing about having the course twice in a year is that I'm already making changes and saying, okay, what can I do better this time? So the first 2 modules are what is engineering and the design process. And those 2 modules, whichever specialization course is first is supposed to have it. My understanding is that Project Lead the Way is changing things a little, and those are kind of going to be embedded in the other modules, but I'm not exactly sure how that's working. But in the What is Engineering module, with the first semester kids, they wrote books. I had them write chapter books for 2nd graders about different engineering careers. So in one class, no one could pick the same engineer. They were in groups of 2s and 3s. Our librarian came in, she showed them like the same types of books about engineers, and she went through with them all the different parts of books, and it was great. And the kids wrote their own books, and they came out great. The kids learned so much, and in that unit, and even with the different activity I did this semester that was shorter, the kids are just learning about what engineers are. Because in 7th grade, you don't necessarily think about engineers and what they do and how they impact the world. So I think it was really awesome that our kids just got the exposure to that. And then, as Gwenn was saying, they did the design process in elementary school. It looks a little different in middle school, but it's the same type of thing where they're defining the problem, generating concepts, developing solution, construct, test, prototype, evaluate, present, and you could go on to innovate and kind of redefine the problem and iterate through the cycle. So the pictures here, these 2 are of kids working on an assignment with the design process. They have their engineering notebooks. We can't really see here, but they have a partner. They were to design either a piece of furniture or a hobby organizer, and so this project kind of took them through that. The next unit or topic is measurement. So one of the things that we start with, which you can see, these 2 pictures are the kids start learning about old-time measurements first. So a cubit from your elbow to the tip of your fingers, and that's how the Egyptians built pyramids, or a fathom, or the foot. And so they have to measure each other, the height of the door, different things using these measurements, handstand, palm. So then we talk through, okay, what are our units of measurement now, and why are they better? The inches, and we go through the English and the metric. And then they actually build a skimmer, and this is a picture of a completed skimmer and a student launching it on the ground. So they pull it back with a rubber band, and they see how far it goes. It looks kind of like a paper airplane, except it's skimming along the ground. And they follow a plan, and they have to be precise in their measurement, and then they measure how far it goes. After that, we talk about sketching and dimensioning. So we talk about the different types of sketches, and we spend a lot of time talking about orthographic and isometric. So an isometric is this C over here where it's a 3-dimensional view where your angles are at a 30-degree angle with your horizon. And the orthographic is 3 2-dimensional drawings. So they take a look at those, and it's not projecting very well, but they do an activity like this activity here are the orthographic drawings, and the kids are given blocks and they have to make the model, and it ends up being a lot harder than they think because there's hidden lines and they can't always tell, and so it's just a learning experience for them to do that. And that leads into, we use Autodesk Inventor Professional, so it's a step up from the one that they use in Launch, and they are to draw, make a 3-dimensional drawing of different objects, and they learn the skills needed to do that, and it takes all the other parts that they've learned and kind of puts them together. And so that's kind of the design and modeling course in a nutshell. And then next year, our kids will be going on to automation and robotics. And I'm going to pass it over to Marcus. Although there's only one slide, but.
So my name is Marcus Oates, and next year I'm going to be doing automation and robotics with the 8th graders. Over winter break, I went down to Duke University and spent the entire week learning about how to work with DEX and the programming software that goes along with it. Those of you that remember erector sets, that's kind of what the DEX kits are like. It's the modules that they have are project-based, and they're centered around some kind of problem that the students have to solve. For this picture on the right, the problem was kind of an end of the year, end of the world scenario where you had to make a windmill that would run with rain. And so me and another partner came up with this kind of vertical design. And so we had a nice little small group project where it was one-on-one. Where on the other hand, there are also modules where it's the whole class has one problem. And so the picture on the left is of an assembly line where the students had to come up with different parts of the assembly line to come up with a product or the blocks that you can see. Obviously, there are challenges there in getting all of the students to get the entire project to work together. One of the biggest, since it's problem-based, it's really going to get them prepared for what they're going to see in college and in the workplace, whether or not they actually become an engineer. So it's really providing them with those skills that's going to be useful for them in the real world. The kids, I think there were 14 or 18 other teachers that were with me in the training, and the biggest issue is storage. There were 7 of the work tubs that you find at Home Depot or whatever, the 3 by 2 foot work tubs for 20 people. So you can imagine how much space that would take up, and that's really kind of our biggest issue so far is where we go with these things. The program that they use is Robot C, and it works with the Cortex and the motors, sensors to help solve problems. Sorry. Oh. Yeah. So because of the storage issue, we're looking into a redesign of our classroom in order to get more storage. I don't know what the size of that room is. It's just so we're looking at different computers, right? And more cabinetry, just more places.
Mobile furniture.
Mobile furniture.
Yeah, we currently have, we're a typical computer lab with desktops, so we're looking for mobile furniture and ways to make a more innovative classroom.
Engineering teacher at the high school. Excuse my voice, I'm fighting the sore throat. So I'm going to talk first about Introduction to Engineering Design, which is what you'll find it if you went on the PLTW website. That's what it's called. We renamed it to Drawing for Design and Production and Engineering. It fits in our school situation. These are the 10 units that are involved with the course. I'll go over them as we go along. The software we use, again, is Autodesk Inventor Professional, which is all available from PLTW or the entire Autodesk package, as a matter of fact, is available through PLTW for the fee that it costs for you to join PLTW. So it's a one-time fee overall for whatever the programs are. It's different for high school, middle school, and elementary. So the first thing, as you can see, is the design process. So the design process evolves. So it follows in the elementary school, we follow the design process that Gwen talked about, and then in the middle school, it's very similar to what we have, almost, it's actually exactly the same.
It is the same.
Yeah, so I didn't realize that till you put it up there. Yeah, so it's exactly the same, and we'll go through the innovations part, so they'll redesign their projects as they go along. So, again, they're gonna go into more technical drawing and more technical sketches as they go along. Here's some examples of some of the things that they do, 1 point, 2 point, 3 point perspective, isometrics, obliques, things like that. Then from there, they're gonna go into measurements and statistics. As you can see, the dimensioning and parts are very important on the construction drawing here that they do on Inventor. Example of engineer's notebook, okay? Very important, document, make sure everything is written down precisely, legible, which is the biggest deal. Legible, okay? And then, you know, these are just measurements from a block-to-block projects that we do. This example of the puzzle cube right here, which is they have to measure each block and then figure out the tolerances of each one of those things. Then they'll learn, of course, because we're learning Inventor, they have to have modeling skills. So those modeling skills are going to be developed through different types of little things that we start off with, going through each step as they go along. Then it's geometry of design. So from geometry of design, you're going to learn how to incorporate different pieces in the puzzle cube project, which is, they start off with this wood block cube. They're going to sketch a whole bunch of different designs. Then they'll learn how to use the Inventor project to what's called tweak. These are tweaked lines. So, and then these lines get animated and draws the project in and out as you go. So the Inventor is an automated program that shows you how one piece fits into another piece. So they'll also print these things in 3D on our 3D printer. There's a couple over here if you want to play with them. So here's one that was pretty innovative. A student this year just did that one, the open web design. Then we're going to go into reverse engineering. Reverse engineering, they're going to get a product. In this case, it was a spatula, and they're going to re-engineer that spatula. They're going to take it apart. They're going to document. It's hard to see. They're going to document each part, measure it up, find the mass and the density of the product and the material characteristics, and then they're going to redesign that product, do work and drawings for it, and all of the above. Again, documentation, very, very important. So in documentation, there are certain types of drawings that are going to go along with trying to figure things out. So cross sections or section drawings, so that they understand where the materials are in certain types of things and how pieces work. Auxiliary views, and here's a full set of construction drawings that we'll produce. Again, back to advanced modeling. So they have to learn a little bit more about the modeling stuff. They get a little bit more creative. This is the toy train project, and they get a project where they get a design criteria, and then from there they have to take that and develop through the process, through the design process. In this case, toy train. This young man did a car in the back, but we'll get to that at the end too. So the second to last thing is the Design Partners Project, where they're actually going to get in this case was a candy dispenser, but they have a choice of 5 or 6 different things. It's like a Christmas ornament and a Frank Lloyd Wright, believe it or not, Christmas ornament. So it's patterned after certain things. There's a bunch of other things. One was a table for a restaurant that has to be interchangeable so that you can expand it or make it smaller, whatever it is. So some of it's pretty cool. And again, you have to go through the entire process. And then from there, they'll go into their construction drawings. And this is a presentation drawing, I think, that one of the students did. Last, finally, in Unit 10, is the Virtual Design Challenge. The Virtual Design Challenge means that they're going to get a partner assigned to them from the other class. So we have 2 sections. in our school. So they'll get a partner in that other class. They cannot physically contact that partner. They have to do it by social media, phone, and it all has to be documented. And if they text, whatever it is, has to be copied and printed out and then put in their engineer's notebook. So there's a whole bunch of different scenarios for that. You can see this is pretty cool. It's a candy machine. So like one of those Pez dispenser things. It's a really, really nice job. So here's some of the things I talked about before of the different little things they do in order to learn the modeling process. So these are all different little parts that they go along to learn different schemes or different commands in the modeling in the software. Here's our 3D printer. Okay, we have our MakerBot Replicator 2 3D printer. We use it for a lot of different projects here. They have one of the reverse engineering projects is a wrench. So it's the existing one, and then he has the other one. Here's the toy train, printed out, so one of the toy train projects. Yeah, and paper clip, I just blew it up bigger than it was supposed to be. So it's a paper clip, which is one of the projects that you learn to come in. So moving on, the program we added this year, and again, that course is a core course. So that's the beginning class. So freshmen would take that class, IED, okay? From there, they could go into civil engineering and architecture. So civil engineering and architecture is a 4-unit based course, and in this course, we use Autodesk Revit software. Okay, so in Unit 1, they're going to discover what's the difference. Am I an architect? Am I an engineer? What is an architect? What's an engineer? Is an architect an engineer? Is an engineer an architect? So they're going to learn all of those things and discover what it is that each one of those people do. Then from there, we're going to get into a little bit of history, about more engineering history than architectural history. We'll touch on architectural history a little bit, but more engineering history like the flying buttresses of the Colosseum and the Roman aqueducts, stuff like that. In that also, we're going to learn architectural styles. So architectural styles, again, there's the flying buttresses. So they get a project, they choose a style, they have to write about the style, they give a presentation, a PowerPoint presentation on the style, they have to build a model. So Garrison Colonial, Church Spire, that's from a, trying to remember the place. It's in Scandinavia, the church, the actual church. I can't remember it off the top of my head, I'm getting old. Roof styles. So from there we go to roof styles. They have to do the same thing. They have to document it, give a presentation. They learn about roof slope and all of that stuff that's involved with trusses and things like that for roofs. This is a truss model right here. And that's a regular gable into a T-shaped gable. So a double gable here on that side into a T-shaped plan. Then from there they learn about careers. So careers in architecture and engineering are not just being an architect or an engineer or being a civil engineer. There's a whole bunch of different careers. Oh, I'm sorry. There's a whole bunch of different careers that you can go into, and they're going to learn all about that. So it's not just a waste of time if it's really not for you when you find that out. Okay, then the first half of the year is residential. The second half of the year is commercial. So they're going to design a house from Habitat for Humanities. So the house is actually in our area. It's in Elmsford. The lot is in Elmsford. I got the site from there. So I have a little bit of an advantage because I happen to be an architect. So I can get, avenues to get site plans and stuff like that from towns and things like that. So they have to design this according to Habitat for Humanity criteria, and they have to do a full set of working drawings. They have to incorporate green design. They do all of the engineering involved in the home. Water supply, drainage, structure, not yet. Not yet structure, not yet, not at this point. Yeah, so I'm drawing the blank right now, but Yeah, all of those engineering things that are involved in creating this Habitat for Humanity house. Plus, they have to, comply by the building code and the local code as well. So, in order to do that, they need to learn residential construction. So, they're gonna get a lesson on the residential construction framing. It's called Western Platform Frame Construction. And they have to build, this is a three-dimensional diorama of a wall section. That's labeled, that they have to label, then they get tested on it, and, they have to do practical research as well. So they do cost analysis for the home. So they have to figure out all the estimating involved with construction costs and the construction materials. So they have to figure out how much concrete they need for the foundations, the wood framing, the siding. They have to pick all of those things, choose colors, all of that stuff for the entire home. Kitchens, countertops, appliances, the whole 9 yards. And again, green design is encouraged. So we'll learn about that as well. In order to do this stuff, they need to learn the design process. So in architecture, the design process starts with an interview of the client, which is called the program, that they list and they write down what their needs and wants are, and they actually get assigned a teacher. So a teacher is their actual client. So you interview a teacher, see what they want, according to the Habitat for Humanity criteria. You were a client, there you go. Bubble diagram is the use of circles to represent spaces. And then from there, they're gonna learn how to create a site according to the view, where the wind comes from, how the light goes, and, for rising in the east, sense and west, all of those things. Commercial applications. In the commercial facility, their first project is called the Keystone Library. So from here, they're going to get an existing building. It's an existing space. In this case, it was just this space right here, and it's 1 story and 2 stories on this side, so a second floor on this side. There's nothing in the building but structure. Okay, then it's on a particular site, and they have a criteria of what the library needs to be. And then they're, off to the races on whatever they want to do as far as what it looks like, how to draw it up. They do a full set of construction drawings. They do all rendering. This is from this year. Again, they have to follow the building code. In this case, I have them use the international code instead of New York State code, because it's a little bit different. It's very similar, but it's a little bit different. So they use the international code to look up all of the criteria for that. Now, here's where the fun part starts, which we're starting on Monday, so they're not excited about this at all. So on Monday, they're gonna start structures. So they're gonna actually do beam diagrams and column loading and footing loads and stuff like that. So they're gonna learn how to do all of this stuff on the right-hand side, and that should be very interesting. Okay, so a little bit of fun in between all of that is I give them 5 sheets of paper and something of weight, and I tell them you have to build with those 5 sheets of paper a tower as tall as it could possibly be, and hold that weight. So that's this project. Some of them are pretty cool, some of the ideas are okay. Yeah, they're taller than they look. Okay, then, they also have to do all of the engineering formulas that are involved in servicing that building with utilities. So they have to do the drainage, they have to do the roof runoff, they have to do the property water runoff, they have to do the water supply. Okay, so all of that stuff has to be incorporated into the project as well. Then, when it starts to get nice, hopefully it'll be nice soon, we're really blessed to get 3 really great surveying pieces of equipment and tripods and the rods. And we'll go out and we'll survey the school property and learn all about surveying and stuff. Also, we'll do some soil testing as well. So we have all the equipment now to do testing of soil, and we'll do that when it gets a little bit nicer outside. Then at the end, they got to figure out the building systems. So the building systems are all the HVAC and whatever is necessary to sustain that building in operation. So they have to do all of that stuff involved. If there's computations that are involved in doing that, they have to do that as well. So this is, solar panels and, hydraulic heads and the water pressure and stuff like that. So This is the commercial design problem. So the last project they do is a full commercial building from scratch. So they have to create the criteria. So they have to write their design description themselves. So that's an example of the designs, it's one of the design descriptions from the past. And this is the commercial project. So this happens to be the building that I did in the summertime, because we haven't got there yet, so this is the first year. So this summer I went to that class. That's the building that I did at RIT, which is a service building for RIT in a certain spot on the campus.
Can I just jump in with one thing first?
Yep.
It's just that our district chose to launch Gateway and the engineering program, but they are not all tied together. They're tied together, and it's a learning progression, but if a district signs on to one, they're not signing on to all. So we had the engineering program first, and then chose to add the others, but it's not, like, it doesn't need to be that way, and I feel like just the way we presented it might have seemed that way, so I just wanted to clarify that.
One thing I just wanted to add before the questions, this slide deck can actually be found on the shared doc, so if you go to the resources for our session, I've actually put a link to this Google slide deck there, so you have it.
So really quick, the engineering programs through PLTW, and they have a lot more that are choices. Each engineering program is a potential college credit. So it's kind of like an AP class. So you get 3 credits through RIT if you pass the exam with a certain grade, and you have a certain grade throughout the entire year, total year average. So you have the potential to get RIT. Those credits are transferable as well to other schools as either elective credits or engineering credits if they went somewhere, but they have to do that through RIT.
Any questions?
Yes, how often does your grade 3 and 4 meet?
So right now, we're meeting on a cyclical basis. So the students attend Project Lead the Way during their regular school day for 2 hours a week. Right now, for 3rd grade, it'll go on for maybe 8 weeks. And then I transfer out to another building to do 4th grade, and they attend for about 8 weeks, and it's usually 2 hours a week. The program says that we can get this done in 10 hours? And it really is like 18 hours,
Yeah.
like Diane was talking about. It
Yeah, it's
really is a
never-
lot
It's part of
longer.
the learning curve.
And if you add your own personality to some of these units, which we try to do so it's not so dry, it does take a little bit more time because you want the kids to be really involved, not with just the content, but get their interest driving. So it's definitely more than 10 hours.
But the way
It's worth it.
Just to clarify, the way we schedule it is 45 minutes of that is a special. So the kids, you take 45 minutes, and then the teachers return with the students to the class for an additional hour and 15-minute block. So our teachers, all our 3rd and 4th grade teachers, are becoming familiar with this. We do see that there's clearly a connection to the next gen science standards, and that eventually may enroll those engineering units into our science program, so that Gwen can be offering more of the computer science component. So we're playing around with that idea.
Yeah, so one more thing is so that all of the curriculum through PLTW is all aligned with all the standards. State, national, ICC, all of the different standards aligned with all of those standards.
So the 45 minutes, they're special, they're class and teachers. The teachers.
2 separate periods. No, the teacher's not trained.
I had a question. When you buy into PLTW, they supply everything, like the kids and the books to do the logs, or?
We have to order them. I mean, they give us the list of what we need to order. Some of those can be purchased from multiple vendors, some only from PLTW, some of the things that are custom from them. But
And the other question is, do they solely work on the Apple system, or do they have an Android or a Google Chrome component of it?
Which
so for launch, we had to get iPads. Like, so it wasn't that we chose to get the iPads; those were required. For like the app work was required for the launch program, so we did get the iPads specifically for our work on PLTW. Yeah.
Or were they, did you have to buy upgraded equipment for that, upgraded iPad,
The only upgraded equipment that we had to buy was actually the teacher laptops for Gateway because of the Adobe software that we needed that kind of ran a little bit more higher end. But beside the teacher laptops, there wasn't any. So the iPads we bought were not like special iPads; they were just iPads.
And in the high school, the water desk, is it running on a?
So actually, those were done a couple of years ago because we've had PLTW a little longer. But yeah, so we did have to get some higher end
Graphic arts.
Desktop, yeah, because of the graphics card, so requires his
And
coursework.
come on, desktops, not laptops.
Desktops
Yeah.
in his space, correct? Any other questions? Jerry?
Just seems like a really impressive collaboration by everyone on the team, so congratulations, that's very nice.
Thank you. Great team of teachers to work with. We're excited to get this opportunity to share their work with you. Rocco? It's so hard to do like a nice round number.
Well, I mean, I think that you can sort of use that number that of our grants. So that PTSA grant was $50,000, the Bemis grant for last year was 10, so that was 60. Some of it was one-time costs, like the iPads, some of it are the consumables. So that's what's hard to separate out right now for us is, because we're moving into what we're gonna have to order for next year. We also, the VEX kits at the elementary level are
Like 100.
120.
They're cheap, yeah,
like $100, and at the secondary level,
significantly.
like $8.
Yeah.
So each program definitely has a different cost associated with it. Also, the engineering components of the launch program obviously are going to be the most cost, highest level of cost required. The computer science not as much. So it also depends what modules or what level you're working at.
So what's really nice is the balance, if you want to balance it off when you're talking about it, is there is a large cost involved in the supply, but the software is free. So the software is part of your initial fee through PLTW, and you're talking about $33,000 worth of software, easy, that you get through
And
that.
these VEX
I
kits
mean,
are very
Autodesk
durable.
Inventor software and retail costs $8,500.
Once you look at those one-time costs, when you're talking about the annual participation fees plus the consumables, that piece of it is really not that high. And when you start to look at some of the other modules and units they made available, so like their computer science track, which we currently don't have in place in high school, the new alignment actually aligns to the existing AP courses, so you can actually overlay some of the existing coursework that you have in order to participate in some of those programs. It's a challenge to get it off the ground in terms of some of those one-time costs, but once you're there, the cost of moving forward isn't as
It goes way down, way down. It goes way down.
Yeah, the participation fees for this year were about $6,000 for the 4 schools. The highest being, and it goes, that's incremental, the highest being at the high school about $3,500, something like $1,500 for middle and $750 for each
Yeah,
elementary.
they did go up this year
Yeah.
from the,
So.
yeah.
Thank you guys very much.